what is your basis for hope now? And is there a difference between hope and optimism in your mind? Is there, because you're very much aware of all the facts and you know, the tragedy that we're facing, and yet you have this incredible activity.
Yeah.
What's the basis of that?
Well, I'll draw two analogies. Neither one are particularly optimistic or reassuring, but I guess I'll draw the first analogy to the sinking of the Titanic. We are all on the Titanic. The Titanic is sinking. We cited the ice, or we knew 30 years ago that we should have taken action, and if we'd taken action to slow things down 30 years ago, we could have avoided hitting the iceberg. But just like the captain of the Titanic who wanted to charge ahead, he was warned. He wanted to charge ahead to set some new record, apparently. The captains of industry and the politicians wanted to charge ahead, ignore the warnings. By the time the icebergs are sighted, i.e. now, once you can see the impending disaster, it's too late. Because of the momentum of the ship, because of the momentum of our energy system and political system, and the time it takes to change. Okay? So that's the situation right now, but as with the Titanic, even after it hit the iceberg, you know, okay, even before it hit the iceberg and after, it was clear there were unavoidable losses, but still a lot could be saved. And the most important thing was to take effective action to save what could still be saved. And so that's what we need to do. Every year that we delay, we're going to lose more. So I don't have time to grieve over what's going to be lost. It's like you're on the Titanic, it's sinking, you gotta roll up your sleeves, it's an emergency situation. There's no time to grieve. You have to just, there's the opportunity to save people, to save ecosystems. We have to do that. So it's just, I'm so taken up my time right now. I guess maybe I block it out too. But later, we'll see what happens. I'm thinking myself, if we can turn fossil fuel emissions around and get them going down in the next 10 or 20 years, the next area that I might move into is restoration ecology. The whole science of what can we do. And there's, you know, in the last 2 years in science and nature, there's been a flourish of papers coming out on this whole new emerging subject of restoration ecology. So I think, but first we have to get things around. There has to be something to be restored. If we can turn things around in the next 10 or 20 years, if the trajectory is going down, then the next big issue will be restoration ecology.
And could you describe what that is?
Well, this is deliberate human intervention to transplant species. Like, left to their own, coral reefs are gone because they're the most vulnerable ecosystem. 1 to 2 degrees warming and, you know, coral bleaching wipes them out, and we're going to get a minimum of 2 degrees warming. But maybe if we understand the ecology of coral reefs enough, we can transplant them and create artificial reefs. Okay? So that, we need to spend a lot of money. I mentioned earlier healthcare and education. There should be more research into finding out more about these amazing ecosystems. You know, I think if you graduate in biology, it's very hard to get a job as a biologist because we're putting more money into military research, far more than we are into researching the wonders of the world that are around us. But we need to understand those wonders if we're going to have any chance of preserving them. And we're only going to have a chance of preserving them if we turn emissions around. Okay? So that's my first analogy, is that thinking of the Titanic, roll up your sleeves, do what can be done.
What's the second?
The another analogy I draw that, you know, Canadians will understand a lot is it's Game 7 of the Stanley Cup final. Third period, you're 2 minutes left, you're behind 1 goal. What do? You pull your goalie, take out all the stops. Okay? You know your odds are not good. And I have to say, given the political system and the myopia of politicians and the way the public is so easily misled, the odds don't look good, just like it doesn't look good when you're pulling your goalie that late. But sometimes you get that tying goal. I mean, the Montreal Canadiens of old managed to do it surprisingly often. We've got to get that tying goal. We've got to go into overtime. Of course, once in overtime, you still have to be the first one to score, but at least you have a chance. And I think that's the situation now. You know the odds are against you, but you don't give up until the last whistle.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Danny, for sharing.
My pleasure.